About a century ago, a portal opened up over Central America, and these giant monsters we call tetsas came through. Everything changed for our world. A huge wall was built around Central America. Within this wall now, each day, the tetsas, which are the monsters, and the mechs, the Iron Kings, fight in gladiatorial combat. Because this is the only thing that is present in the world, it has also become entertainment and sport. Our story begins as the greatest, most famous Iron King pilot, Anita Marr, is about to take a new prototype into battle with her. And this prototype is built with a kind of technology that may change the tide of the war in humanity's favor. I make stuff up for a living. I've been doing it since I was a kid, but now I get paid for it. Actually, my earliest memory of writing is probably when I was 12 or 13, just around the time I had read Lord of the Rings for the first time. So I said, well, I'm gonna be a writer. I'm gonna read this book, and then I'm gonna make something like it. So I sat down and I started writing every day, and I wrote 40,000 words of a terrible Lord of the Rings knockoff that no one should read. I don't think I ever stopped. I was always writing. I think one of my earliest memories is making one of my friends cry. So I wrote her a poem and I saw her like break down and cry, and I think that's my earliest memory of realizing like your words can be quite powerful. And then 2013 I had a huge sort of falling out with my father, and I remember him going like, well, what are you gonna do with your life? And I had, in this very dramatic way, I was like, I'm going to write. So I moved here to the UK to study writing, and at the end of that sort of course, I self-published my first graphic novel, which was Black Mamba. It did quite well, and I've been writing comics and graphic novels ever since. A lot of my work tends to take existing genres and then approach them in a different way, in an interesting way. Like Black Mamba was crime noir without the crime. The Savage Shores was vampires, but set in India during the 1760s. That conversation came up, and I said, look, I have that idea in my head that I want to do, which is like very much mecha kaiju, but it's also ghost story, romance, body horror, human drama. My first ever exposure to anything mecha kaiju related, or Japan related for that matter, was a black and white TV show that would play on Indian national television. Johnny Sacco and his giant robot.
Giant robot, go!
There was this kid and this massive giant robot, and he would give the robot orders and the robot would carry them out, and it was all terrible. It was all like bad cardboard attachments, but it was beautiful. The robot had like cool powers, shoot missiles from his fingertips, and his chest would come out and fly like a giant shield, and it was brilliant. I loved it. I would watch it without fail. If you have an idea and it excites you, you're naturally inclined to think about it. And the more you think about it, the more it mutates and grows. And I find that always leads to more interesting things. Like, I even like the idea of pitching something to someone and then going, cool, I'll do it in 5 years, thank you. I didn't know Evan, and I found an illustration that he had done called Golgotha, which has this huge mech. There's a storm and there's a young man standing in front of it. I had this idea for Dawnrunner in my head, and I just looked at that image and I went, this is the guy who has to do Dawnrunner. And then a few weeks go by and I get this email from Evan Cagle that says, hey, you don't know me, but I read Graffiti's Wall and I was so moved by this book. I want to make comics at some point. I don't know if you've seen my work, but I would love to collaborate. And I was just like, how weird is that? Two people, no connection to each other, we're kind of, I don't know, already in each other's orbit. And I said, hey, I'm gonna pitch this. I think it'll be great. Why don't we produce like 3 or 4 pages, see how it goes? And so everything else kind of fell in place, but that's how we started. The world is going to discover a phenomenal artist when they read this book. I've quite literally had professional artists who've worked in comics for 30, 40 years look at his work and have tears in their eyes. So watch the lines, Cagle.
All right, this one's gonna need some more help.
I tend to like collaborating with people where it's always a conversation rather than I finished my script, now you go do the art kind of thing. Making comics is like being in a band. And when a band works well, you hear the song. You don't hear 4 people working together. And so that's how it should be. It should feel like, oh, I'm reading a book. That's it. Doesn't matter who did the lettering, who did the inking, who did the art, who did the writing. Evan's one of those artists that I have really long conversations with about nothing. The funny part is, I think a few weeks ago, Evan came to me and said, you know, you've ruined other writers for me. And I said, what do you mean? Like, it's not the same. Like, no one else feels the same, like, working with you. I'm like, good, that's how it should be.
Marc, tu parles en anglais, tu veux que je traduise tout?
Je pense que tu vas traduire ça, tu vois.
Okay. I'm gonna be translating. Oh, okay. The format would be this, which is the exact same. Okay. This one. Okay. I mean, not the exact same. It's
because it's a cover.
A little,
cover is
a little
larger.
bigger, and the cover is a little larger. You know.
Oh yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah, very good quality.
Oh, that's very nice.
It's a good weight. It feels
Right?
substantial.
Yeah. And this is the perfect Christmas gift. If you know.
Well,
like,
not for me, but
for someone. I mean, I'll surprise you. Would you like it a bit more creamy or a bit more white?
I think white.
Yeah, I think white as well. Yeah.
Okay.
We can put it something we can put.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the-
Oh yeah.
from paper in paper.
That would be the best.
Yes.
From papers and papers.
Ah oui,
Ah,
ça,
yeah.
oui, ça passe très bien, ça, oui.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's not exactly blueprints because if you try.
Yeah, but
it
I mean,
can be
it's
terrible.
blueprints from the future. You know?
in the future, they don't care about.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
That'd be amazing.
that would be amazing.
I find that in storytelling, it's very important for people to have a solid sense of who these people are, who these characters are at the very beginning. Even if they don't know anything about the characters, I think women in particular have it very difficult when they're also celebrities. And you can see that on page 1, like she wants to go for a jog in the morning and she has no privacy. And I think anyone who has a public-facing life, a celebrity life, knows that they have to separate these two parts of their life. You might be the most badass, amazing person ever, when in the other you might be utterly powerless and you don't know how to contend with it. And you start wearing costumes, you start wearing armors to deal with these things. And I think that translates almost really well as a metaphor into the idea that she quite literally puts on an armor and goes out and fights these monsters. I was actually talking with Evan. He was like, does it feel good to write things that are big and popular? And I said, it doesn't matter. Like, the big things don't matter in the long run. The stuff that matters is when you get a DM from a 45-year-old guy who lives in Glasgow who says like, I read Graffiti's Wall and you made me cry. Like, I haven't cried in a decade, but I cried after reading this book because it reminded me of moving to Scotland as a teenager. That stuff is like it's electricity. It's like fuel for me. I mean, think about it. Everyone has intimate stakes, right? Everyone has things in their lives they wish they did, that person they wish they spoke to, and so it becomes something you carry with you, and so it becomes a defining part of your personality. Stories let you play them out in other ways. So the bombastic stakes really only exist as a way for people who are reading to work out their own intimate stakes. And I think that leads to a sort of catharsis that you don't get. I think that's why stories are so powerful, is because they give you catharsis even though you weren't in the story. But I'm just a kid trying to tell a story, and hopefully it's meaningful and interesting and joyful to read. I'm just making something I want to make.